Most people leave school with zero understanding of how money works, and then they spend their whole adult lives stressed, confused, or stuck living paycheck to paycheck. And this doesn't happen because they're lazy, but because no one ever taught them the rules. As a result, we tie our identity to money. Your job title becomes your value. The things you buy become your badge of honor. And your self-worth, well, it gets tangled in how much you have or how much you don't have. But you see, that's not wealth. That's a misaligned response to a system that's quite frankly designed to keep you financially illiterate. The wealthy, they've learnt the game and they play it well. And today, I'm going to teach it to you. And if you're wondering, who are you to teach this? I've been on this journey. School didn't teach me about money, and neither did my parents. We were in quite a financial struggle when we were growing up. And they say that the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. But for me, thankfully it did, because I did the work. And over the past 15 years, I've rebuilt my beliefs about money. I did the practical work to understand the mechanics of it. And then through that, I've built an 8-figure business from the ground up. So let's zoom out for a second. See, most people think that the key to wealth is just earning more, either getting a better job or starting a side hustle, climbing that corporate ladder. But if it was really that simple, why are so many high earners still living paycheck to paycheck? Because income is only one part of the equation. Wealth is not just about how much you make, it's about your relationship to money and how you manage it. And today you're going to build your financial intelligence, and I'm going to give you the tools to transform your life financially. The pyramid of money. This one image explains why most people never understand money, but picture a pyramid split into 5 stages. Each of us sit at one of these, but we don't all start in the same place, and we're not taught how to move up, or we're not taught the potential pitfalls of each stage and how easy it is to move down. At the bottom is level 5. This is survival mode. You're unemployed or under extreme pressure, and you rely on others such as parents or loans or the government just to get by. And there's minimal access to resources at this level, and escaping this level feels almost impossible without outside help. Level 4, just above that, is financial instability. You may earn and have the ability to support yourself, but have no real control over your money. 1 or 2 wrong moves and you're back at the bottom. A lot of people live their whole lives on either of these 2 levels because we were taught incorrectly. We were taught how to work, not how to build wealth. We were taught how to save, but not how to invest. We were taught to get a job, but not how to make money from our ideas. So it feels like financial freedom is only for the lucky few, not something we can build. But that's not true. The next level above that is level 3, which is financial stability. And this is the middle class dream: a good job, holidays, a mortgage, maybe a couple of cars. But there's a catch. Everything is dependent on income. One job loss, one health issue, one market shift, and everything is at risk. People at this level, they likely save money, but don't really know about investing or creating assets. They're earning money, but have no real financial education. And this is a risky place to live because it looks secure, but that security is an illusion. Level 2 is financial independence, and at this level, your assets are working for you. You've become educated on how to manage your income, store it for a rainy day, and use it to generate more wealth. Whether or not you show up to work, your income is covered, your lifestyle is no longer tied to your time, and you have choices. This is where you've shifted from working for money to letting money work for you. And at the top of the pyramid, level 1 is financial freedom. And this here is a mindset shift. To go from independence to freedom, you stop thinking about money and start to think about impact. You're no longer thinking about just your own needs. You have enough money, time, and resources to do something meaningful. This is where you can fund causes you believe in. You can help other people build their wealth. You can leverage your assets to multiply the opportunities in front of you, but not just for you, for a community also. So if you want more control over your money, the first step isn't just saving more. Most people can't do that. In fact, what you need to do is you need to understand the different types of income and how they're used effectively. You need a mindset shift. So in his book, Robert Kiyosaki breaks this down into 4 categories. He called it the cash flow quadrant. These 4 types of income aren't just job categories, they're mindsets, they're the way of thinking. You can sit in more than one quadrant, but the quadrant you generate the most money from determines how much control you really have over your time, over your income, and inevitably your future. The first quadrant is E, and that stands for employee. This is where you trade your time for a paycheck. There's comfort in stability, but little control. This is where your income depends on your boss, your hours, and essentially your ability to show up. Now, for some people, being an employee is great. You may be working for a good company, it may pay you great bonuses, or it might give you an opportunity to grow or give you share options, or you might be working a stopgap job because you're studying or you're focusing on a side hustle, whatever. The main thing you need to ensure here is that you cover your expenses and have the ability to earn more than you need, or you are working to learn, not necessarily to earn. S, the next quadrant, stands for self-employed. This is where you are your own boss, but also your own employee. Freelancers, coaches, tradespeople. You work for yourself, but if you stopped, the income stops too. Again, this may be your path, and this is great. But the main thing here is the same as the employed. Follow the cash flow quadrant. The next quadrant is B, stands for business owner. And there are two types of business people in this world. There's the entrepreneurial type, and then there's the business owner. And depending on your intention and what you want from your business, you may still be very hands-on, or you may not be. In any case, the holy grail of all business ownership is that the business can run without you doing everything. Because when you get to that point, you're now multiplying your time and creating more value than you ever could alone. And then what you need to do is you need to focus on building an asset that generates shareholder value for your future. The next quadrant is I, and this stands for investor. And this is when you've moved from working for money to making money work for you. This is where you've taken a portion of your earned income and have invested it into assets, like property, shares, or other businesses. And this is where you generate income while you sleep. Now you see, you're not required to move from E to S to B to I sequentially. Most go from E to S, employed to self-employed, or E to I, employed to investor, or S to B, self-employed to business owner. So let's take a look at what two different paths could look like in practice. Let's take Sam. In his early 20s, he trained as a chef, and he was working long hours to gain experience as an employee. After a few years, he went freelance. He saw an opportunity to work as a private chef and a consultant to other restaurants. The thing is, he's earning more money now, but he's likely working harder. He gets an idea. He wants to create a meal plan subscription for people looking for high quality dinners. He then hires a small team to manage orders, and he's a business owner. But then what happens is Sam's business then hits profit, and it's generating spare cash. He then starts to take more money out of the business, but his mentor says to him, why don't you reinvest into hospitality stocks? So he does. And then what happens? He starts earning dividends from those stocks. And then he reinvests those dividends and more spare cash into buying more stocks over time. See, now Sam has stepped into the investor quadrant. Sam did take the E to S to B to I path, but it took him years of learning and rewiring his thinking in between. It didn't happen overnight, but it started with understanding the flow of E, S, B, I, how to handle money, and how to see the opportunities in front of you. But what if you don't want to quit your job or run a business? Well, it's great news because you can still make use of this system. Let's take Amina. Amina is a full-time marketing manager at a technology company. She loves her work, she values the stability, and is not interested in the risks of starting a business. But a few years ago, she realized that relying solely on her salary was keeping her stuck in a cycle. She worked harder and harder, but she was trading time for money, and her savings weren't growing fast enough. She wanted to build something for her future, so she started to think. And instead of quitting her job to start a business, she made a different plan. Here's what she did. She stayed employed, she stayed in the E quadrant, but she got intentional. She negotiated a small pay rise, she budgeted accordingly, and she committed to saving 10 to 20% of her income. She then started to learn the basics of investing. She read books like The Psychology of Money, Rich Dad Poor Dad. She went on YouTube and studied videos on financial education, and she built a simple investment strategy using an index fund and a stocks and shares ISA. She then created a cash flow system. And what she did, she tracked her income and expenses using a weekly waterfall method. We're going to go through that later on in this video, and gradually built an emergency fund. And then she started to invest £400 a month. That commitment of investing £400 a month into a stocks and shares ISA started to earn an average 10% per year on the money she invested. What that now meant was her money was working for her. See, if the E quadrant feels right for you, you can still become an investor. You just need to have a plan of how to get there. So how do you figure out that plan? Well, before you begin chasing more money, which will be great, but you need to change your relationship with it. I grew my business to 5 million in revenue. almost lost it all to the tune of £600,000 worth of debt. I then financially re-engineered my way back to making six-figure profits consistently over the past 5 years. If I can tell you one thing I learned from that experience, it's that the real challenge with money is not about how much you earn, but how you manage and multiply it. You can't chase more money if you haven't learned how to use it when it's there. They say that a leaky bucket will leak more water when you put more water in it. It's that simple. So before pouring more water in, you've got to plug the holes. So let's plug those holes. Here's the limiting mindset compared to a wealth creating one. Limited mindset, what I call a poverty consciousness, will see money as a reward. It sees more income as a means to spend more. It sees money as potentially evil. Risk is bad, we've got to play it safe. And spending, well, they think they can't afford that. On the other hand, a wealth building mindset, a wealth creating mindset, what I call a prosperity consciousness, sees money as the tool. More income, well, that's just an opportunity to invest more. Well, money is neutral. It just amplifies who you are. And risk? Well, risk is mitigated through education and experience. And when spending, they always ask, how can I afford that? You see, one mindset is on the defensive, the other plays to win. You see, the wealthy, they see money like water, something to channel, not to cling to. They call it currency for a reason, because it has to flow like a current. It needs to move. There's a quote that I love, and it says, money is like shit. Pile it up and it stinks. Spread it around, and that's when it starts to grow. Well, the wealthy don't hoard it out of fear. They take calculated risks and give it direction. And the shift from poverty to prosperity consciousness doesn't happen overnight. You need to dedicate yourself. You need to make it a commitment, a habit of becoming financially literate. Because what will happen is once you're financially literate, you'll become the master of your money as opposed to it mastering you. The first step is budgeting. And most people roll their eyes, and please don't click off this video. But if you want financial freedom, you need to become aware of your money habits. The goal here is clarity, because you cannot improve what you cannot see. It's really that simple. So this is where the waterfall budget system comes in. Let's go through it in 3 easy steps. Let's go. Step 1, I need you to see it. Start with the facts, the truth. I need you to download your latest bank statement into Google Sheets or Microsoft Excel. Remove any personal details like your name, address, and account details. Then go into Claude.ai and upload that document into the search bar. You should have a new chat and upload that document into the search bar. Once you have it uploaded, use this prompt. I need to get a grip on my personal budget. Here is my latest statement downloaded as a list of transactions. Create a document I can download in a list format and split the month into 4-week views. Add headings to make 4 columns: date, name, amount, category. Then in date order, take every piece of income and expense, add it to the sheet by entering the date, the name, and the amount, and then categorize every expense under these headers: rent/mortgage, property costs, food, travel, utilities, leisure, other. And once you've done that, mark each expense as either a necessity or luxury. And once you've pressed entered, Claude will do its work for you, it will do its magic. It will basically create a document based on the bank statement that organizes it into 4 weekly views. And we're going to need that for later. And it analyzes your transactions and it organizes them accordingly. So what you'll start to see is you'll see weekly views of what you're spending. It will split your bank statements into weeks. And I say we're going to need that later. But then what it does nicely as well, it gives you an understanding, a summary at the end of the month. So it tells you the total income. It looks at your expenses by category. You can start seeing what you're spending on things that are necessary versus things that are just luxuries. And it gives you a net change, which is basically the free cash, which is an amount we want to aim for. This part is uncomfortable, but it's eye-opening. I always say the truth will set you free, but first it can piss you off. And what it allows you to do is it basically allows you to see the summary of your spending habits and decision making. So I need you to ask yourself here, once you're reviewing all of this, what do I actually need to spend? What can be cut, or what do I need to stop doing to reduce my expenses? And where are the consistent leaks in the money that I need to plug right now? And you'll start seeing how much of your income is pre-committed and where you can start to take control. That takes us to step 2, which is mapping your currency flow. This is cash flow. when people talk about cash flow. Now, we want to create your version of the waterfall budget system. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into that now. And what you'll start to do is you'll start taking from the weekly summaries in Claude.ai, you'll start to populate this list. You can see 3,500 in week 1 for income, and it gives you a total income. And then it will give you a free cash at the start and a free cash at the end. But you'll have an income part of this budget and an expenses part of this budget. So the expenses part takes away from your income and it gives you a total amount at the end. So you can see 3,500 comes in week 1. And expenses, there's £825 worth of costs coming out, split across council tax, gym, furniture, BT, utilities, other, and food. And then you get a free cash at the end, which is basically the total cost, the £825 taken away from the 3,500 from your income. And you do that for every single week. So you can see week 2, nothing comes in. Week 3, nothing comes in. Week 4, nothing comes in. But in the expenses part of this budget, you start seeing that week 2, 180 comes out. Week 3, this is where the big one comes out, 1,980 comes out, split between your rent, your Amex, other, and food. And that gives you a free cash position after all of that, 515. And then you've got week 4, which gives you 180 worth of costs and £335 worth of free cash at the end. And the whole point of this system is to get a number at the end, a total free cash. So you're going to have to do the work to be able to manipulate this budget, to be able to create a budget that allows you to have some free cash. And that takes us to step 3, which is optimize. This is where you need to make the decisions. And depending on your goals, paying off debt, building savings, or investing, you need to start reviewing your luxury spend and make cuts where needed. You need to start making commitments to yourself. See, now you have that clarity. It's not about guilt. It's about getting real with yourself, growing up and taking control of your future. After helping over 50 people to date with their money mindset, I can see that most people work hard to get their money, but once they have it, they waste it. Now, when it comes to a lifestyle of luxuries, I'd say you can't have everything now. You've got to start to wait for things. You've got to earn it. You know, that childish mindset needs to be grown out of, because if you don't, you won't start to optimize for your future. Don't sacrifice your future self by living above your means today. See, in reality, striving for an impressive lifestyle means nothing, and it will just make life harder for yourself tomorrow. If you really want to build wealth, you need to learn how to put your money to work instead of spending it all. Now that you know your numbers, because everyone has their own specific set of numbers, let's talk about how to use money more effectively. Robert Kiyosaki explains this with a simple concept: cash flow patterns. Because it's not just about income versus expenses, as we've covered. It's what you do after the bills are paid that defines your financial future. So let's break it down. Pattern 1. This is money in, money out. This is where there's nothing left at the end of the month, or worse, there's too much month left at the end of the money. This isn't always because of bad decisions. Often it's due to low wages, rising costs, and a lack of financial education. But the result is the same: survival mode, with zero space to think long term. This sets you up for a life of work. Pattern 2 is where you earn more but spend more. And this is the trap. This is where you get a raise but you then upgrade your lifestyle, a new car or a nicer flat or holidays. And from the outside it looks like wealth, but behind the scenes every extra dollar or pound is going to credit card and monthly repayments. This is what is called the rat race, working harder to maintain a lifestyle to keep up with everyone else. And this gives you zero freedom. Pattern 3 is making money work for you. Instead of buying liabilities like holidays, cars, improving the house, the wealthy buy assets first. Things like stocks, digital products, rental property, businesses, and assets that offer royalties. They don't wait until they're rich to start investing. They become rich because they prioritize investments early and stay consistent. And I get this all the time. People always say to me, well, when I earn more, well, I'll be able to invest. And my response to that is, well, if you can't manage 1,000, how can you manage 5,000? You need to be able to manage the small before you're upgraded to managing the big. It's like a rite of passage. You cannot leap from broke to millionaire overnight, but you do need to manage your cash today to do so. Cut what drains your money. Start to build up a pot of spare cash. Keep some of that cash for a rainy day. For the rest, channel it into assets. And over time, those assets will contribute to the lifestyle you want. Now, wealth isn't about depriving yourself. It's about control and direction. And I'm not saying that things are going to happen instantly, but if you stay consistent, your assets will start to earn interest. And through the miracle of what is called compound interest, your money will start to take on a life of its own and will grow. And what will happen is over a decade or two, this pot could pay for the lifestyle you want, meaning it could help you stop working altogether. Not only that, but what happens is you become addicted to this way of saving and investing. When you see a pot increasing, you actually want to add more to it. Energetically, more money attracts more money. That's just how it goes. So my question to you is, where is your money flowing? So by now, you've learned how money flows, how the rich think, and why your job title or how much money you have doesn't define your value. But knowledge without action is just trivia. If you don't know and you don't do, then you're excused. But if you know and you don't do, then you're foolish. So let's make this really simple. Here's your next step, no matter where you are. If you're an employee, start by tracking your spending using the waterfall method. Then use some of your free cash to learn new skills or create a product that solves a problem you're great at or invest in stocks. If you're self-employed, take action on the waterfall method. And if you want to earn more money, find out from your current customers how else you can help them. Add more value to your current offer and raise your prices or earn from other services. And do yourself a favor, start documenting your processes. And maybe one day you can outsource the lower level work. You don't need a massive team, just a system that allows you to do more of the things you love by delegating the things you don't. So you can earn without always trading your time. Now, if you're a business owner, get clear on the systems that are needed across the 4 pillars of business. Could your business run without you? Until it can, it's just a job. And once it can become your greatest asset. And if you're an investor or you want to become one, start today and start small. A monthly investment into a diversified fund is more powerful than you think. You're not here to get perfection. The goal isn't perfection. The goal is momentum and time. And no matter where you are, your financial future starts with the choices you make this month. In fact, it starts now. You are more powerful than you know. So what will you choose to do?